I don't think they're sick at all. I think they just let hate eat them up and turn them into monsters. But it's okay now. They can't hurt you here. It's all right. My Adam's apple felt like it was going to blow a hole in my throat, but I said, I did go to the church, Bye. I saw what happened. I saw 2 of those little girls. I thought Joey got killed too. We all did, Kenny. There ain't nothing wrong with being sad or scared about that. I'm sad about it too. I got real scared too. But, man, no one's gonna hurt you here, Kenny. But Bye. I tried to think of how to say it. I'm not scared. I'm just real ashamed of myself. That was it. That was the main thing I'd finally found out from being a patient in the world-famous Watson Pet Hospital. Kenny, you ain't got nothing to be ashamed of. But you don't know what happened, Byron. You don't know what I did. Man, everybody cried. Mama was crying. Dad was scared. He cried too. That was some real scary stuff. That was some real sad stuff. He didn't understand. Byron, I left Joey. I thought the wool poo had her, and instead of fighting him like you did, I left. I ran from him. How come you were brave enough to fight him and all I did was run? All I could save was a shoe, a stupid ripped-up shoe. I couldn't stop crying. Aw, man, you ain't gonna start talking about that wool poo mess again, are you? I told you, the wool poo was some made-up garbage. I told you the only one I was fighting in that water was your stupid little behind. Wasn't no one in that water but you and me. That's what you think, Bye, but I know better. I've seen him twice. Couldn't believe Byron was still talking to me. Most of the time, if I started sounding weepy and whiny, he'd take right off. Look, Kenny, if you don't quit talking about the wool poo nonsense, I'm gonna leave you in here to cry all alone. There ain't no such thing as a wool poo. Then he stopped sounding so mean. And there ain't no such thing as magic powers, neither. I was surprised he'd brought up the magic powers. You don't think I know why you've been hanging out behind the couch? He grabbed my ear and twisted my head until I had to look at him. You think I don't know? You waiting for some stupid magic powers or genies or an angel to make you feel better? Dig this. You can wait behind that couch for the rest of your life, and ain't no magic powers gonna come back there and make you feel nothing. Only thing that's gonna happen back there is that you're gonna stunt your growth from being in a little ball all day. He pulled my ear to make sure I was listening. If you've been spending so much time thinking about how you didn't save Joey, why don't you stop and think about why she wasn't in that church? Why don't you spend some time thinking about who it was that led her away? But it wasn't me, Byron. Man, shut up and listen. He twisted my ear to make me be quiet. Ain't no genies in this world, Kenny. Ain't no magic powers. There ain't even no angels, not in this neighborhood anyway. Man, I just don't get you. You're supposed to be the one who's so smart. How can you believe in something as stupid as magic powers or genies living behind a couch, but not believe it was a part of you that took Joey out of that church? Byron started throwing me curveballs. If you hadn't have been born, who would have took her away from that bomb? No one. If you hadn't have been born, and she walked out of that hot church and saw some stranger waving at her from across the street, you think she would have followed him? Hell no. She'd have gone right back in there. If you hadn't been born, who would have gone in that church to see if Joey really wasn't there? Me, Mama, and Dad was all too scared. You was the only one brave enough to go in there. Every time he made a point, he twisted my ear to make me understand better. But Byron, it's just not fair. What about those other kids? You know they had brothers and sisters and mamas and daddies who loved them just as much as we love Joey. How come no one came and got them out of that church? How's it fair? How come their relatives couldn't come and warn them? Byron let go of my ear and thought for a second. Kenny, things ain't ever gonna be fair. How's it fair that two grown men could hate Negroes so much that they'd kill some kids just to stop them from going to school? How's it fair that even though the cops down there might know who did it, nothing will probably ever happen to those men? It ain't. But you gotta understand that that's the way it is, and keep on steppin'. Byron let me sniff and wipe my hand across my eyes before he slid my head back onto the linoleum and stood up. He went over and got some toilet paper and wiped my tears and boogers off his legs. Then he let a couple of sheets of toilet paper float down and land on me and said, "Blow your nose, wash your face. You've been behind that couch long enough. It's about time you cut this mess out. Mom and Dad beginning to think your little behind is seriously on the blink. Today is the day you check out of the world-famous Watson Pet Hospital. Don't let me catch you back there no more. You ain't got no cause to be ashamed or scared of nothing. You smart enough to figure this one out yourself. Besides, you getting the word from the top wolf hisself. You're gonna be all right, baby bro. I swear for God." He walked over to the mirror and scrunched his face up so he could look at his chin again. Then he used his thumb and finger to pull that long, skinny black hair out a little bit. He let the hair go, smiled at himself, and ran his hands along his head like he was brushing his hair. "Shoo," he said. "I sure wish someone would come clean and tell me who my real folks was. There just ain't no way in hell two people as ugly as your mama and daddy could have ever had a child as fine as me." He blew himself a kiss in the mirror, then left the bathroom. Before he shut the door, I could see that Mama and Dad and Joey were standing there in a little knot, trying not to let me know they were eavesdropping. Mama whispered, "What's going on, Bi? Why was Kenny crying like that? Is he okay?" He told her, "Kenny's gonna be cool. He's related to me, ain't he?" "Byron Watson, how many times am I gonna have to tell you about saying ain't?" Some of the time it was hard to figure Byron out. He was right about some things, and he was wrong about some things. He was wrong when he said the wool poo was something he'd made up. If he'd ever had his ankle grabbed by it, he'd know it was real. If he'd seen the way it was crouched down, crawling around the dust and the smoke of the church in Birmingham, he'd know it wasn't made-up garbage. If he'd ever seen those horrible toes, he'd know the wool poo was as serious as a heart attack. He was also very wrong about there not being anything like magic powers or genies or angels. Maybe those weren't the things that could make a run-over dog walk without wobbling, but they were out there. Maybe they were in the way your father smiled at you, even after you'd messed something up real bad. Maybe they were in the way that you understood that your mother wasn't trying to make you the laughing stock of the whole school, when she'd called you over in front of a bunch of your friends, and you'd spit on her fingers to wipe the sleep out of your eyes. Maybe it was magic powers that let you know she was just being Mama. Maybe they were the reason that you really didn't care when the kids would say, "Yuck, you let your mama slob on you?" And you had to say, "Shut up, that's my mama. We got the same germs." Maybe there were genies, and the way your sister would throw a stupid tea party for you, and you had fun even though it was kind of embarrassing to sit at a little table and sip water out of a plastic teacup. Maybe there were magic powers hiding in the way your older brother made all the worst thugs in the neighborhood play basketball with you even though you double-dribbled every time they threw you the ball. And I'm sure there was an angel in Birmingham when Grandma Sands wrapped her little arms around all of the weird Watsons and said, "My family, my beautiful, beautiful family." I climbed up on the toilet and leaned over the sink to take a look. I smiled. Byron was very right about some things, too. He was very right when he said I was too smart to believe magic powers lived behind the couch. He also knew what he was talking about when he said I was going to be all right. Joetta banged on the bathroom door. Kenny, Byron said you're feeling much better now. If that's right, come on out. I gotta go to the bathroom real bad. She said real like it had 1,000,000 letters in it. Some of the time, I wondered if there really was something wrong with me. A few minutes ago, I'd been crying on the floor like a kindergarten baby, and now I was looking in the mirror laughing. I blew my nose and splashed a little water on my face because I wanted to go out. Besides, I had to think of a way to get at least half of my dinosaurs back from Rufus. Come on in, Joey.